it had not succeeded, at least at the moment. It was having a pretty hard time to achieve its main objective, keeping the peace of the world. That is the main objective of the United Nations, and just now it's having a very hard time because the United States and the USSR, the two most powerful nations in the world, have great distrust of each other, and all the rest of the nations of the world, and great suspicion of each other, and all the rest of the nations of the world are trying very hard to keep the balance so that we do not have an all-out war. We feel that they should be completely on our side. But I remind myself occasionally that we are a little further away from the dropping of bombs and the occupation of armies than the people of Europe are, even, I suppose, than the people of Asia are. So it's a little bit easier for us to feel that no one should question our motives, no one should question our desire to be disinterested and generous, and therefore we should stand up firmly against what we know is wrong. And I remember when I hear people or have people write me and say, why don't we drop the atom bomb on Russia now? I remember someone in Norway who said to me last year, it would take at least 12 to 14 hours to fly to you, but only 3 or 4 to fly to us. It's quite a difference. And they can remember what it was like when Nazi armies occupied their country. They can remember, as the French can, what it was like to live as a resistance country. Someone said to me on a television show the other day, Senator Capehart, that he agreed that we should not, or rather he thought, we should send no men to Europe until they had raised 260 divisions. And I wondered for a minute if he had any conception of what it did to people to live under foreign domination and to see their homes and their factories and their land destroyed. The only thing I can ever compare with it in this country, and the younger ones here will not be able to use the comparison, but perhaps some of the older ones can remember this far back. The only thing I can compare with is the days of 33, when I went down in the spring to a mining town in West Virginia, and I went into a house and talked to the mother of a family. Her man had not had work for 3 years, and before that he'd had 2 days' work a week. And I watched the people in that area very carefully for quite a long while. They completely lacked initiative and self-confidence. And those who had been without any work for 3 years or 5 years, it took them nearly 3 or 5 years to come back and have that sense that we think is part of being an American, that you can go out and conquer the world, that you have the initiative and the know-how, that you can make your own decisions. And now the nearest thing that I've seen to those people are the people that I've talked to in countries that have been occupied. Or rather, not now, because they've begun to come back, but in the first days, in 46, when I saw a number of countries in Europe. People I talked to then, they hadn't come back. And I think it's quite reasonable to expect that, given a war, they will fight. They will produce the divisions. But I think they have to have some leadership. And I think it has to come from us. But I think it isn't going to be enough if it is just military and economic leadership. I think it's going to have to come from a people who have a conviction about the things that are worth living for. Not dying for, but living for. And that's why I think that in this country today, the thing that we must do is in every one of our communities, each one of us must carry the responsibility of living democracy, of seeing to it that the thing which really is going to win over communism actually offers the people of the world something that is practiced in this country. Perhaps I feel it rather strongly because I sit and have sat since the beginning in Committee 3 of the United Nations. Committee 3 deals